The year was 1950. The world had barely recovered from the devastation of World War II when another conflict erupted in Asia. The Korean Peninsula, divided after the war into North and South, became the center of a growing struggle. On June 25th, North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel, launching a full-scale invasion of the South. Within days, cities fell, families fled, and the United Nations answered the call to defend South Korea. Among the nations that responded was the Republic of the Philippines. The Philippines became one of the first Asian nations to answer the United Nations call. Thousands of brave volunteers formed the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea known as PEFTOK. Among them was the 10th Battalion Combat Team, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Dionisio Ojeda. These soldiers would soon face one of the greatest tests in Philippine military history. By April 1951, the front lines had reached the rugged hills near Yultong. Intelligence reports warned of an impending Chinese offensive. The Filipino battalion occupied a vital defensive position protecting the United Nations line. They knew the enemy greatly outnumbered them, yet abandoning their post was never considered. On the night of April 22nd, the silence ended. Artillery shells rained across the hills as waves of Chinese soldiers advanced under the cover of darkness. Explosions tore through the mountainside. Machine guns roared. Despite the overwhelming assault, the Filipino defenders held their positions with remarkable discipline and determination. Throughout the battle, acts of extraordinary courage unfolded across the battlefield. Officers led from the front, medics risked their lives to rescue the wounded, and soldiers refused to leave their comrades behind. Among those remembered is Captain Conrado Yap, whose leadership and sacrifice became a lasting symbol of Filipino bravery during the Korean War. As dawn approached, the repeated assaults gradually subsided. The defensive line had held. The stand at Yultong helped prevent a breakthrough during a critical phase of the campaign. Though the battle came at great cost, the determination of the Filipino battalion earned lasting respect from their allies and secured an honored place in military history. More than 7 decades later, the Battle of Yultong remains one of the proudest chapters in the history of the armed forces of the Philippines. The courage, discipline, and sacrifice displayed by the soldiers of the 10th Battalion Combat Team continue to inspire generations. Their stand at Yultong reminds us that true heroism is measured not by numbers, but by the willingness to defend others against overwhelming odds. Their story lives on not only in the mountains of Korea, but in the heart of every Filipino. Wave after wave, the attackers pressed forward. The night sky glowed with artillery fire as explosions shook the hills of Yultong. Visibility disappeared beneath smoke and dust. Communication became difficult. Yet the Filipino defenders refused to surrender their positions. Every trench became a fortress. Every soldier understood that the line behind them had to be protected at all costs. Even as casualties mounted, discipline never faltered. Medics rushed into danger to save the wounded. Ammunition was shared. Positions were reinforced. Every man understood that survival depended not only on courage, but on the strength of the soldiers beside him. In the darkest hours of the battle, unity became their greatest weapon. Among the many acts of bravery displayed at Yultong, one name would become forever linked with the battle: Captain Conrado Yap. Leading from the front, he inspired those around him through calm leadership and unwavering determination. His courage during the fighting became one of the enduring symbols of Filipino service in the Korean War, and his sacrifice would later be honored by both the Philippines and South Korea. As daylight returned, the thunder of battle slowly faded. The hills bore the scars of a long and brutal night. Though exhausted, the Filipino soldiers remained at their posts. The defensive line had endured. Their determination helped preserve a critical position during one of the Korean War's most difficult offensives. More than 70 years have passed since the Battle of Yultong. Today, the hills that once echoed with gunfire stand in silence, serving as a reminder of the courage displayed by those who fought there. The soldiers of the Philippine Expeditionary Forces to Korea demonstrated professionalism, discipline, and sacrifice under extraordinary circumstances. Their service strengthened the bond between the Philippines and South Korea, a friendship remembered through memorials, ceremonies, and shared history. The story of Yultong is not simply one of war, but of duty, resilience, and the enduring legacy of the Filipino soldier. The Battle of Yultong: Honor, Courage, Sacrifice. Presented by NXT History. History brought to life through 3D animation. Subscribe for more cinematic documentaries exploring the greatest moments in world history.